guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today I am going to review something that this is probably the only the second time I've done this, and it's not to say that I won't do more in the future, because I do occasionally enjoy a knockoff figure, but I'm going to actually review a knockoff or 3 knockoff figures all in one, because they are very small and they're very cute little knockoff figures. But they're kind of, it's hard to say if they're really true full-blown knockoffs. I mean, definitely one is, but maybe 2. It's hard to really say, but we are going to look at them right now, and they're very, very small. One is this little guy, which I don't really know what ceratopsian that's supposed to be. I would imagine it was stolen from Jolly, well, actually looking at it, maybe it wasn't. I'm not really sure. So this one may not really be a knockoff. If you can tell me where exactly this sculpt came from, or if this is a brand new sculpt, that would be helpful. But this one here, to me, looks eerily similar to the Rebor Tyrannosaurus hatchling. And then this one, without question, is stolen completely from Rebor. It is one of their little Velociraptor hatchlings. But I was scrolling through eBay one day and happened to notice these guys, and for the triplet here, or all 3, you can buy them all together for a very low price. I can't really recall what it was, but I remember being pretty impressed at how cheap they were, and in person they actually look pretty good. Now, I shouldn't really recommend bootlegs too much, because I've heard a lot of things about the paint that is used on these in China, and that they are potentially hazardous. So if you do happen to buy any of these, I would definitely recommend washing your hands thoroughly after handling these, because I don't know for sure which bootleggers actually use hazardous material in their paint and which ones don't, or if they all do. I have no idea. But I would definitely hate to see anybody get sick from handling these things. But yeah, I mean, let's take a closer look at these guys, I guess. Looking at this little guy, I don't really know. I guess maybe he's a Styracosaurus. I'm not 100% sure, but I can tell you one thing. He's a pretty cute little figure, and it does look nice. I mean, the sculpt, again, I don't know. It's not really the Rebor Triceratops Jolly. I believe Jolly was or Dolly maybe? I forget what the Rebor hatchling Triceratops' name was. But this one is definitely a different sculpt than that, so I'm not really sure where they came up with this one, or if it's something that they've sculpted entirely new themselves, but he does look pretty nice. They put some decent little detail into it. Whoever did, if it was them or someone else, I don't know. The paint job is actually fairly nicely done. It's not bad at all. It's not super good up here on the spikes on the frill. You can see the paint is applied a little sloppy, but it's nothing terrible for its size. I mean, it's a very small figure, so for its size they did a pretty good job on the paint job of it. The egg itself is all one solid color. It's got a couple little cracks here and there, some basic but good egg detail on the eggs. So the egg itself, I wouldn't be surprised if that was just flat out a knockoff from a Rebor figure. Probably the little Rebor Velociraptor hatchlings, I would imagine, is where they would have got that from, but I could be wrong. The little Tyrannosaurus here definitely is stolen from the Rebor Tyrannosaurus hatchling. Without question, to me, is definitely a knockoff of that, but they did close the mouth on this, as the Rebor one actually has an open mouth, and I mean, it's a little different, but you can definitely tell it is basically the same thing. Closed mouth, paint job's a little bit of a different color, but it's pretty similar. It's just a lot smaller. And the funny thing is, Rebor actually on theirs had just a pure black eye. This one, they actually put a pupil into it, so they went a little further than Rebor did with this. The teeth itself are painted okay, but in the front it gets really sloppy. But again, it's a very small figure, so I can't get too angry about the paint not looking super nicely done. But overall, it doesn't look half bad for being a little knockoff figure. not too shabby. And then, and he fell over. And the last one is, like I said, full blown. This is clearly a Rebor knockoff. It's, I believe, one of their small little hatchling velociraptors. I never actually purchased the little ones. They had like a whole bunch of different color variations. I forget how many exactly, but this one to me is very clearly stolen and was one of those. But this one doesn't look terrible. Paint job isn't exactly high class, but it doesn't look that bad either. The eye is a nice red eye. Some good detail all over the place, but if Rebor is the originator of the sculpt, of course there's going to be decent detail. But they look pretty nice, and they all come on a little base, very small little base to put the egg in, exactly as Rebor releases theirs. So yeah, not too shabby. And they do sit inside the little nests here, little spots for their eggs. They do sit inside of them really nicely. So for knockoffs, they're not terrible. And I mean, you can't get the other Rebor ones in this size, except maybe like I said, I never purchased any of the Raptors, so I don't know for sure how big those ones were, but I think they were a little bigger than this. I could be wrong though, but these ones you definitely cannot get in this size, so it wouldn't really hurt to purchase these, but I would recommend purchasing the originals for sure before purchasing these, as the company that actually created the sculpts in the first place should be, you know, getting some compensation for this. And obviously if you're buying only these, they will not get anything for these. Only the Chinese bootleggers will. Now, to show you the actual size difference between their stolen counterparts, the ones that they stole their sculpts from, this is the actual Rebor Tyrannosaurus hatchling, and obviously this little guy here in the middle is the one that they stole, that the sculpt is stolen from. As you can see, just looking at him, there are definitely some differences, as his tail in the front just kind of sits on his chest. The actual Rebor one hangs over. But yeah, I mean, there's way more detail on the actual original. It is way bigger. There is also gloss finished on all this. The Rebor one looks very realistic to me. It looks very real, looks very alive, looks really, really nice. You're not going to get that with any of these smaller knockoff figures, unfortunately. But I mean, I thought that they were pretty nice little figures for what they are, being so small and being so different, even though they are knockoffs of these other ones. Again, the Triceratops from Rebor is very different than what I imagine. This one might be a Styracosaurus, I don't know. So I don't think that this sculpt here was stolen, but they did follow the same idea of Rebor of having a hatchling hatchling ceratopsian, T-Rex, and a raptor, which is what Rebor did do. But I don't know where they actually got the sculpt for their ceratopsian from, as it's not the same as that. This was one of the bigger lock, stock, and barrel raptors, but you can see just looking at this compared to that one that clearly they are very similar in sculpt. Actually, this one, looking at it, it's really, really similar. Even the hand placement, it's just like they made the hands opposite. So they're very similar. I don't know, again, how the original little Rebor hatchling raptors looked, so this may be an exact, completely stolen copy of it and bootlegged, but I don't know. Obviously this one's much bigger, looks much better than the knockoff version. But these little knockoffs are very, very small, and for the price, they're pretty nice little tiny hatchling dinosaurs that you might want to own just because they're small and cute and they're different. If you are going to buy these, please buy the originals first. You know, if you've purchased the original, it's okay to buy a bootleg, in my opinion. It may not be everybody's opinion. You may not all share the same ideas as I do, but I think if I've purchased the original and I've actually put money toward the person who created them in the first place, then it's okay for me to spend a little more money on, you know, a different, slightly different version, different variation, different color scheme. Or in this case, these things are just way, way smaller, not as detailed, but they're pretty cute and they fit in a lot of spots. So the size of these little guys, very, very small. As you can see, the They're about under 2.5 inches each one. They're all very small, but they're all around the same size, and I knocked them over. So if you want to buy these, I will link you guys as to where I purchased them. And please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.